Hey, here's your questions for the night. Got a lot of questions last night. Thank you. Somebody says, can the judge change his mind if she gets too belligerent that she has to use a real attorney now? I don't think he can demand that she use a real attorney. I say real attorney, I mean like a certified attorney. But if she decides it's too much for her, she can tell the judge, I no longer want to be my own attorney, and can we have someone else do it? Or my advisory counsel, can we have my advisory counsel do it? And then they can do that. But she can't then change her mind back. Now, as I mentioned last night, if she gets too crazy and wild and can't contain it, the judge would likely take a recess, maybe talk to her. As I said, they built a room for Brian David Mitchell. I don't see Lori getting that far into it. But you never know. I mean, there's been defendants that have refused to show up for court, and sometimes they have to be dragged there or whatever. I hope it doesn't get to that. I don't think any of us want it to get to that, but we'd have to see. If you go back and look at the recordings from yesterday, you can see that the defense seems to have turned their laptops to face the camera, and it appears that they have purposely increased the font size. Is this possible? If so, why? I have no idea about that. I don't think that they would do that. I don't think they would want us to see their screens. I think that there was a wide shot, perhaps. I haven't watched the footage that closely. And the one attorney was on the end and her laptop was there, but I did notice at one point she closed it. So I don't know. And you know, I can't comment on that. I'm not sure. Natalie asks, how long do you think the trial will be? Do you think Melanie will be charged with anything? The trial was expected to last trial days, probably 5 to maybe 10 days total, actually in court, not including like today and yesterday. So there'll be opening statements. Could be 6 or 7 days. It depends on if Lori puts on a defense, but for now she has no witnesses that we know of. And she could take the stand, but I don't foresee that happening. So 2 weeks from now, it could be over. We could have a verdict. And I don't believe Melanie will be charged, but she could. She could, and don't hold that to me, but it's been a long time if you were going to charge her this late in the game. But maybe they're waiting for this trial to end. I have no idea. Why did they want Brandon dead? What was the motive? Well, Brandon had money, and if he died while he was still married to Melanie, she would inherit all that. She would get all of that. And Melanie was close with Chad and Lori, and I think that's why. I think that he had money. He had a successful job. He had funds, and that's possibly why they wanted him. It seemed like every person they wanted dead in this case had money. If Brandon testifies, is he bound by rules to not bring up the other people who he knew so much about that Lori unalived? That's going to be hard. That's from Katie. Yes, he is bound by those rules. And in fact, there was a portion of today's hearing where this issue was brought up in the morning, where the prosecutor said, we're going to have to reference Charles's death somehow with like the Jeep. And so how we're going to do it is we're going to use terminology such as in another case in Gilbert or Chandler, this happened. They're not going to say Charles Vallow died because Lori Vallow orchestrated his killing. They're going to refer to it broadly and generically so that the jury doesn't find out about the other crimes. Lori then had a question about that too, about when she's questioning a detective from Idaho, how she's going to word that and phrase that. And the judge said in another hearing or something like that. And then he said that she could pull out a transcript of the hearing and give that to him to refer to if he testified in another trial. So yeah, they're not allowed to bring it up. Brandon can't bring it up. Brandon can answer the questions. And sometimes people are like, well, why doesn't the witness just go rogue and just say, not only that, you killed your kids and you killed your husband and you killed your new husband's wife. If that happened, and while we might feel like that would be amazing and you could really, show it to Lori or whoever the defendant is, that can cause a mistrial. That can cause things to be completely turned upside down and things have to happen again. So it's not the best for that to happen. It's best to just simply answer the question that the prosecutor has or the defense. Kathleen says, was Melanie remarried before or after the attempted shooting of Brandon? She remarried after. The attempted shooting happened in October, and then Melanie got remarried over Thanksgiving weekend in November in Las Vegas. So it was about 2 months after. Hillary Sue, have you met or interviewed anyone that's been in jail with Lori? I would find that to be fascinating. I have. I did an interview years ago with someone who was in jail with her. Let me try to find it and you can read it. It's not an audio or a video interview. So I have to tell you that the inmate interviews are tough because you have to put into question that they're, not always honest. Neither are any of us always honest, but we have to be careful because what if they just make this stuff up? That being, I'm not saying that this woman did that, but I'm checking. Maybe I did have video, or maybe I just kind of talked about what our conversation. This was back in 2020. So let me see what we have here. I'll play it for you. How's that?
Madison County Jail is speaking out about how the mother was acting days after she was taken into custody here in eastern Idaho.
Welcome back, Lori. Where are your kids?
Daybell arrived in Rexburg on March 5th from Hawaii. She didn't have much to say to me then, but when she was booked into the Madison County Jail, she opened up to a woman who was in the same jail pod. Now, this woman has asked EastIdahoNews.com not to use her name for safety reasons, so we are calling her Melissa Cook. Jail officials confirm that the two were in a segregated pod from March 5th through the 8th, and they were the only two women in there. Cook says she made it a point not to ask Daybell about Joshua J.J. Vallow or Tylee Ryan, her children who had been missing since September. Nobody knew where they were at the time, but Cook did not want to bring them up because she wanted to build a relationship of trust with Daybell. Cook says Daybell was always upbeat and friendly. She never showed any sign of heartbreak, never cried, did not appear to be disappointed, and was glad that she was no longer incarcerated in Hawaii because she said that there were roaches in the facility in Hawaii and that the conditions were, quote, awful. Now, the day after Daybell was booked in Rexburg, she was scheduled for her initial court appearance in Madison County. You might remember media outlets from across the country were huddled outside and hundreds of people showed up. Daybell complained to Cook about her dry skin. She was worried about how she would look during the court proceedings, so Cook gave her some lotion, deodorant, and makeup she had purchased from the commissary. Now, many inmates also use Jolly Rancher candies and colored pencils for lipstick or eyeshadow. Cook says Daybell knew that this was a big deal and she was actually looking forward to it. When she returned to her jail cell hours later, she wanted Cook to watch the news with her. Actually, when it came on, she said, "Here it comes. Here's my story. Turn it up. Let's see what they say about me now." Now, at that point, the big issue was whether Daybell was going to be able to post $1 million bail. Cook says she was coming and going from her jail cell to meet with her attorneys constantly. And one time, Cook said, "Are you going to be able to post it today?" And Daybell responded by taking her hand from her head, rubbing it down her body, and saying, "We'll see if all of this is worth $1 million." When Daybell was not with her attorneys, Cook says she was likely talking on the phone or having video chats with her son Colby or new husband Chad. Cook recalls her telling Colby to read the book of Job and saying that he would understand the challenges she was going through. Daybell said she was being tested like Job. At one point, she said, "Colby, just listen to me. Everyone wants to know what's going on, but it's none of their business. God doesn't judge me, and they shouldn't judge me. The prophet says to stay off social media, so don't go on there." Cook describes Daybell's calls with Chad, her husband, as, quote, nauseating. She said that Lori Daybell wanted attention and affection and reassurance from her husband that he loved her, and she always made sure that she looked good if they were communicating. Daybell never spoke to Cook about religion, but spent her free time reading scriptures and praying. And all along, Cook believed that her children really were alive. She said that she thought Chad and Lori had taken them to a polygamy compound while she and Chad decided to start a new life together in Hawaii. Well, after 4 days, deputies came and took Cook from the segregated portion of the jail to another part of the facility so that Daybell could be in isolation. Later, Cook went to another facility, and when she was released last month, she actually texted Lori Daybell to see how she was doing, and Daybell responded. Daybell said, "How are you doing? I've been praying for you. I'd love to visit with you. I'll schedule you in later today. Hopefully that will work." Well, that meeting never happened. Daybell, of course, remains in jail awaiting her arraignment, which will be on Thursday, where she will plead not guilty or guilty to the charges. As for Cook, she says she'll always remember something that Daybell repeatedly said in jail, and that was, everything has a purpose. God has a plan for everyone. His plan will be accomplished. You can read more about what Cook witnessed while she was in the Madison County Jail with Daybell. We have the full story at eastidahonews.com. I'm Nate Eaton reporting.
All right. Well, I hadn't planned to show that, but thanks for your question. Good question there. I also want to say, hold up. I also want to say that a couple of weeks ago when I was here, a woman reached out to me who served time in jail with Lori, I believe after Lori was found guilty in Idaho. She went back to Madison County to wait for sentencing. And this woman wanted to talk to me, but not really go public with her story, so I'll keep it vague. Maybe she will go public one day. I invited her to tell her story and do an interview with me, but at the time she said she just needed to talk to someone who kind of was familiar with the story. But she said it was life-changing spending that much time with Lori, but not in a good way. That it had permanently changed her life. And she went on to tell me other details that I won't share, but just that it was very hard for her now to be in there with her. So anyway, good question. Thank you. Why does all of this matter? Gabriella says. Gabriella, why is the state of Arizona wasting precious resources to bring someone to trial who's already received life sentences? A lot of people are asking that. I talked to my mom earlier today, and she's like, what's the whole purpose of this? Like, she's already going to jail. Well, Brandon Boudreaux is a victim. His family is a victim, are victims. He was shot at. His life was nearly taken. He has the right to justice. He has the right to have this trial. And even though it won't change anything legally, he has the right for that. Now, let's say for some bizarre universe that her Idaho convictions get overturned and Charles Vallow's convictions get overturned. You could say that if she's found guilty here, it's insurance against the other cases. I mean, I don't see any overturnings happen, but he has the right to do it. Arizona could have said, we're going to let the case rest. Both cases, Charles and Brandon, we're going to just let Idaho do it. But to Arizona's credit and their legal team, legal people, they decided that they were going to pursue the charges. So that is why it's happening. Yes, it does cost a lot of money. It does cost a lot of time. I'm sure all those potential jurors today were not happy that they had to go all the way down there and then turn around. But that's what happened. Tate. What is CrimeCon? Isn't that just romanticizing crime, violence, and violent criminals? It is not, Tate. In fact, they don't allow people to dress up like criminals or in, bloody clothes or crime scene tape. You hear from prosecutors, defense attorneys, you hear from survivors, you hear from Larry and Kay Woodcock spoke a few years ago. Summer Shiflett, Lori's sister, came a few years ago. Other people have spoken on big cases, attorneys. It's really just like an educational type thing. If you're into true crime, Jean-Benet Ramsey's father spoke a few years ago. He'll probably be there this year because we are in Colorado. It is in Colorado, I should say. But yeah, that's what CrimeCon is. And you can go online and learn about it. I know it's not for everybody. My wife was a little weary about going, but she actually really liked it. And she's not a big true crime person. By the way, thank you all for your kind words and thoughts. Erica's home and doing well. She had a little procedure yesterday, you could say, and she is doing much better today. And it was our daughter's last day of school, and so she helped out with the final graduation type activities, meaning 6th grade graduation, not 12th grade. Glad we're not there yet. Susan asked, does Lori make eye contact or look at you, at me? Funny you asked that, Susan, because she did today. In fact, we smiled. We smiled at each other. After the morning session, she stood up. She went to leave. I was seated. Normally, the media are in the back row, but during jury selection, we were able to sit much closer. So I was on the second row, directly behind the defense table. And when she stood up, we did make eye contact, and she smiled at me. I smiled back, and you're not allowed to talk if you're caught talking to the defendant. Big trouble. You'll get kicked out. I think that's it for our questions. Thank you all for sending in some good questions and for watching tonight and being with us during Courtroom Insider. We'll be back. I'll be back Sunday night again with a preview of what we can expect next week on the trial. If you are interested in coming Monday to court, well, I don't know how that's going to work with jury selection, because if there's not enough seats for all the jurors to sit, the judge will have the public out. But I imagine there might be 30 seats, maybe 40. And that'll happen in the morning. But then opening statements because the reason there's limited seats is the potential jurors come in and they sit in where the public normally sits. And then once they're dismissed, they leave. But once the jury's picked, they'll go sit in the jury box up front by the judge in the well of the courtroom, and then the public can sit there. So I don't know what time to tell you to be there. You don't need to be there super early. At least I wouldn't believe so. Unless you really want to see, you could go super early. But I would imagine court is going to start every day at 10:30. Here's how the timing of when you can watch. It starts at 10:30. That's when Arizona time, I should say. 11:30 Mountain is when I'll start posting the live updates. Then we'll go live on our YouTube channel with the video. And then, of course, Courtroom Insider every night. But that's how you can stay up to date. But if you go to the courthouse, get there whenever you wish. I will probably get there around 9:30 on Monday. Here's where you can follow me all weekend long, just what you want to do. I'll try to post some fun stuff this weekend. I think I'm going to go out and explore Arizona. It's so hot though, so I have to find some indoor fun places to go. And if you have any recommendations of like series to watch, like documentary series or shows on Netflix or HBO, whatever, let me know, because I'll be looking for that. And I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks again for watching. This is Courtroom Insider. I'm Nate Eaton. See you on Sunday.